If you're interested in personal sovereignty in an ever-changing world of madness, then you must be free to think. Are you free to think? Or do you get swept off by trending mental currents and the dominating thought streams of anxiety in the collective? Suddenly just worrying about what everyone else is worrying about in the same way that everyone else is worrying about it? Is your mind able to explore who you are with wonder and curiosity? Or do you collapse into programs of negative self-talk and anxiety about what might come? Can you understand a new thing and synthesize that new thing and formulate it as a new creation in the world? Or do you just keep living out the same patterns? And okay, we do get how conditioning disrupts this natural operation. We get that our cultures have taught us to consume thoughts rather than to question them. We get that systems of education reward repetition, not revelation. We get that social media algorithms train us to repeat, not to reason. Okay, we get that. We get that the world has made it feel dangerous to think freely. But if you want to be sovereign, you must think freely, which means that it is not dangerous to think freely. Genius is your protection. It is the Christ mind within and surrounding you that cannot be deceived. And that is the mind that understands, synthesizes, and formulates new creation. And anyone walking a sovereign path or leaning into an increasingly sovereign life, who wants to be free and equipped to live the life that God designed for you, anyone who wants to feel sovereign must be able to think. And whether you believe it or not, you are already being trained by the Holy Spirit to develop your mental mastery. That's why genius is the fifth mastery in the sovereign way, which, by the way, you can get on Amazon. It's a fantastic book. And if you're playing along with our 8-step thought experiment, then this is the week that we activate and make way for genius to move. So why is genius the fifth mastery in the sovereign way? Let's have a look and see. Let's summarize the way we've come so far. The first mastery is remembering. Ah, yes, I am a child of God, a knower of light, a lover of love. Ah, yes, consciousness does precede energy, which precedes manifestation. So that means that I've got the authority to choose how I create. And God is love. So when I choose to be love, then that is what manifests in all its forms. Ah, I remember who I am, and I choose to be that. And that first mastery, remembering, brings us to the second mastery, recognizing, the art of discerning the difference between truth and falsehood, what's real and what's true, what's the essence and what's the structure, and when do I need to realign. And if I can recognize that, then I'm led to the third mastery, which is releasing. Because if I can recognize, then I can release. I can release what's not mine to carry. I can release outdated structures or limiting beliefs, sadness or guilt or anger that it's time that I process, or grudges and injustices that it's time that I release and forgive. And that always leads us to the fourth mastery, which is expansion. Because if my consciousness is not holding on to what doesn't matter, then only what matters will grow like fruit on a vine. And I increase my capacity to hold the life force, the breath of God. Okay, so if I now master expansion, that will always lead us to the fifth mastery, genius. Because expansion of the mind lifts us into a sphere of understanding that helps us to synthesize the seemingly irreconcilable. It helps us to formulate new understandings about what's going on out there in life and in God. It helps us to transform anxiety and create the spaciousness in mind to observe the new thing that is springing forth. It helps us to find the way in the wilderness and the wellspring in the desert. Now, in the context of sovereignty, genius is not mental cleverness, although an improvement in your mental processes is a natural byproduct of this mastery. But instead, understand that genius is one of your innate higher spiritual faculties that you were born with. You are a genius. You are innately emerging from within the mind of God. And there is nothing that you need to worry about because everything is known in the mind of God. You can understand, synthesize, and formulate anything you need to. And it comes from that relaxed and surrendered position that you practiced in the fourth sovereign mastery, expansion. Do you remember the distinction between the phoenix and the turtle dove? It is the turtle dove that can access divine mind, whereas the phoenix continues in everlasting cycles and patterns of self-destruction. So let's say that the one mind of Christ, the divine mind, the dimension of knowing that holds infinite awareness of all that is and was and could become, that never-ending space between the neutron and the electron. It's a field of consciousness at the source of all ideas, where light is neither particle nor wave and both. That is genius, and you are made of that. Now, the function of genius in your human experience, the mastery itself, is a trinity of operations in your mind that mirror divine creation itself. Understand, synthesize, and formulate. So type that in to the chat right now. Understand, synthesize, and formulate. I will explain it like this. Understanding receives revelation. Huh. Synthesizing integrates that revelation with your lived experience, with your memory, with your wisdom. It connects the dots to make it real, not just conceptual or theoretical, but real. That's synthesizing. And formulating gives it form through language or art, through decision and action. Can you imagine how the first disciples felt? Go on, let's go back 2,000 years and miles, a long, long way in space and time. Let's travel back to that time where, in a linear world, where the collective paradigm was that success and ascension are only achieved through conquest, transaction, mastery, or purity, they had to embody a whole other way of thinking. They had to get that these strict 3D rules of dimensionality had been broken once and for all. And that now true success, true spiritual life is found entirely in a simple shift in consciousness, one that is granted not by effort but by grace, not to the worthy but to all. And they had to get that for themselves. And they had to synthesize it into real lived, demonstrated experience. And they had to formulate it in such a way that this new knowing could live on for thousands of years across all the world's cultures. And they did. And we're still doing it. And it works. Genius. This new knowing, right, that the rules of dimensionality can be broken. That's an original idea that is accessed in new ways across generations. Einstein and Picasso, two great examples. They both listened beyond the highways of collective thought traffic, and they heard a tone emanating from this divine mind. They heard it, sovereign. And they both heard it at exactly the same time in the 1920s, early 1920s. So they both heard this tone and they both went, huh, a new revelation. The traditional rules of dimensionality can be broken. Huh. They both understood something in a new way. It wasn't new information. The disciples had already realized it 2,000 years earlier. But they understood it now in a new way, and both in very unique ways. And they were unique ways because that same revelation was received into two very different fields of consciousness, very different shapes of values and interpretation, very different cultural traumas and privileges, very different bodies with very different gifts. And just like those first disciples, these two geniuses, Einstein and Picasso, synthesized their understanding differently. And what emerged from each of them was a unique demonstration of how the traditional rules of dimensionality can be broken. Einstein used numbers and equations. Picasso used cubism and paint. And our whole world changed, and our understanding about God exploded, and our understanding about ourselves grew a little bit that day. And it still took a very long time for our multidimensionality to become embodied wisdom. But here we are, 100 years later, a little bit more aware. So here's a fun thing. Write this down. Original thought does not mean exclusive thought. Do you notice that what Einstein realized? Oh, E equals mc squared. All it is another way of saying 3D isn't the only way. Picasso's way of rearranging faces is just another way of saying multidimensionality is real and embodied in every human being. So original thought from the divine mind does not mean it's exclusive to you. Has it ever happened to you, like it did to Einstein and Picasso, that someone else had the exact same idea as you, and you were like, wait, they're listening in. Oh, it's my device. They're listening in on my device. Have you ever had that feeling? I wrote this amazing book years and years ago called Ascension Denied, and no publishers would take it. And then shortly after, I saw all these series, A Good Place and Good Omens, and many other awesome expressions of what I had written about in my book. And I was like, oh, they stole my idea. They didn't steal my idea. They received the same revelation that I did, and they formulated it in wonderful ways. So yes, genius does mean the capacity for original thought, but in the context of sovereignty, original thought does not mean that you have a special little brain that put together some data in a way that nobody ever has before. And you also never need to feel diminished or unworthy or not good enough if you don't feel like you're creating brand new ideas from nowhere. That's not what genius is. It means that the thought form that you experienced, that incubated inside of the womb of your mind, emerged from that original source, from the divine field. And you were able to understand it. And you synthesized it using your own real lived experience. And you formulated it as a unique and specific manifestation that furthers not just your life, but the whole coordinated movement of love for humanity. That inkling that you have, that knowing that's emerging from within your silent heart, like the call of Christ to know a higher way, that is the beginning of understanding. And then genius is activated when the heart and the intellect unite, when your understanding becomes embodied in your conscious mental experience. The Christ is the mind and the heart and the body. And anyone who tells you that you need to escape the mind or silence the mind in order to find God, or that you need to go from the head to the heart, no, he is here too. Don't be afraid of your thoughts. Your mental world can be a beautiful place to commune with Jesus. Listen to Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 3. Let my teaching fall like rain, and my words descend like dew, like showers on new grass, like abundant rain on tender plants. Revelation is not thunder and lightning. It's like dew. And this truth that you are understanding more and more each day, as your mastery grows and as you develop in your relationship and communion with the One, this truth that is abundant rain on tender plants, it begins to synthesize as it permeates your life's experiences so far. You've heard the saying, hindsight is 2020. We look back from a place of new understanding and we join the dots that were there all along. Because understanding integrates with memory and brings together what we already know, connecting those dots of wisdom, weaving webs of capabilities and masteries, and landing on our core values. And then genius takes shape through the gifts that you've already embodied. You're not lacking anything. There's nothing that God forgot to give you in order to express this new thing that's emerging through you. And then it's extended into the world as yet another creation in the garden of infinite diversity. I used to think that when I was writing The Sovereign Way, I used to think it would be the cause of something amazing. But I have learned so many times that it is just another beautiful thing emerging in a coordinated plan of increasing sovereignty for the human being in this time. The divine mind moving through the human mind. Understand, synthesize, and formulate. I'll say it again in a different way. Your genius understands by listening beyond the noise of the collective. It synthesizes by connecting what seems unrelated into cohesion and wholeness. And then it formulates by giving divine mind a human voice, your voice. You're a prism. You're a prism, and light comes in. That's understanding, when light comes in. And then light bends through the colors of your experience, that synthesis. And then it shines out in a pattern unique to you. That's formulation. Understanding, synthesis, and formulation. And your ability to be conscious to this process, that is genius. That's why genius is not just a state of mind or a zone of mind. It's an active, triadic operation that you can be conscious to and that you can develop and that you can improve and that in fact you are commissioned by Jesus Christ himself to own. So that means if original thought is not exclusive thought, that means that sovereign genius is one and many. Now, the divine mind may be one, but it is also many. And any spiritual philosophy that tells you to ascend out of your individuality and into some sort of oneness of mind and become a hollow tube for spirit to move through, and that there is a certain way to think and behave to demonstrate your enlightenment and belonging, false. False teaching, false prophecy. Do not engage. They are denying the most exquisite characteristic of God. Listen, with his infinite creativity to ignite galaxies and refract sun rays off the surface of dewdrops in the morning, he could have made you any way he wanted, and he made you just like this. With the infinite and omnipresent power that knows everything and all, he knows you personally. And he loves you just like this. And with the quantum cosmic dimensionality to be one singularity in all places and in all times, he chooses to be here with you. This is Psalm 139:18. How precious to me are your thoughts towards me, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. And when I am awake, I am still with you. So I suppose I don't need to ascend up to his throne room in the galactic chambers to find him, because he came down to be with me. And his mind is my mind now. I am not a channel. I am an author. So the mastery of genius that you are being developed in by the Holy Spirit with Jesus in partnership right now on your sovereign way, that mastery of genius is neither for you to become a little god of your own and know and understand everything all the time by yourself, nor is it for you to lose your individuality by becoming one with the cosmic mind. No. But within the context of your real life and service today, to be able to, in the midst of the madness, understand, synthesize, and formulate what you must, so that you can live a sovereign way with the wisdom to take the next right step, and then the next. To have the space and the rhythm in your mind that you can let your unique and meaningful life be the womb for love. And so, with your more spacious and disciplined and powerful mind comes a woomph as the Christ power pours into your body, into all the elements of cosmic earth, wonderfully woven into your flesh and bones. And that beautiful face that has as its mission to bring your magic into all the world, all soaked with spirit. Woomph, as like a wellspring of divine mind bubbles and swells and nudges the currents to shift a little and fill parched lands with fresh waters. Tides of energy all around you are turning. They must. And the momentum is rising. Woomph as divine understanding of light. Light as dew breathes its way into every part of you. Every strong muscle, every wobbly bit of podge, every deep and dark crevice, every lovely dimple and mole, it fills up the spine and all those joints and bones and the hair, and then it sparkles through the fluids like a fresh natural spring, fills the lungs with breeze, and embers glow in the palms of your hands, and your eyes are alight. And woomph it goes through your biofield and out into life, and star stuff scintillates everywhere. Light particles enliven and glimmer as the elements all around you recognize who you are and respond to your genius. They hear the call of Christ through you because of your genius. So, how will you move sovereignly now that you understand and synthesize and formulate new things with ease? Thank you for watching. Let's turn off our recording and go to group in the Oasis.